Oh, that sound. It's so nostalgic. Apparently in the PC version and even like the German version of this game, the cutscene's colored and it's a lot more graphic than the Japanese and American version. Usually I'd like speedrun a Resident Evil, but I think I'm just gonna chill and just play this without speedrunning it. Look at that cringy 90s fucking cast title. Yo, there is, but I probably should preface that when I say speedrunning, it's not necessarily the traditional, it's more of the traditional speedrunning versus the actual speedrunning of Resident Evil. Like, I'm just trying to get through the game as fast as I possibly can, but which isn't necessarily a good thing, because me beating the game as fast as possible is almost just enough to get A rank, and people speedrunning this game legitly past the requirements by a huge margin. So there's like, I can't really put myself on that same caliber, you know?
What is this? Wow.
Like I think the fastest time like of me beating Super Mario 4 is, I mean Super Mario 64 is like 24-25 minutes maybe. I've never legitimately timed myself though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a horrible time, but you know, considering like what the world record is, like the world record's like what, 15 minutes I think, or something like that. I'm just trying to put it into like perspective, you know? Like I'm not as, I don't know any strats for speedrunning, like legitimate speedruns for an RE game. I know none of them. I just know how to play through the game normally as fast as possible.
What? What is this?
What is it?
Blood.
Ketchup. In the PC version on this scene, you actually get to see his head fall off and hit the rug. You know, for some reason as a kid, I always thought this guy looked very, like, crispy. Like, crispy. Like, legitimately just crispy. Especially because all the crunching noises he makes when he walks. Wait, what's going on? Are you gonna say your next line? Wait. What's going on here? Whoa. Whoa, hold up. Did it just... No fucking way. I think it just froze on me. Why is the PlayStation emulator so garbage? It's 2020. This shit should be working by now. If this doesn't work, I guess I'm gonna have to download like the director's cut or something. I am not a fan of director's cut, mainly because of the music, but when I was a kid, I had no idea what the fuck a dining room was. I was like, what the hell is that? Like, what? Alright, skip that. Rip my boy. And rip this fucking stream if this freezes again. Okay, fingers crossed. Oh, the models look so shitty.
Captain Wesker, where's Chris?
Look at Barry, he's just going absolutely nuts. His whole body's just vibrating like through like time. I really hope this works. No way! I hate dealing with the PlayStation emulator. It's such a pain in the ass. Like, we're 2020. We should be able to have an optimized version. My favorite Resident Evil has to be 3. So many memories playing that game as a kid. 2 is a close second for me. Honestly, I love Resident Evil 3. I think it's one of the better ones. Even though there's a lot of people who didn't like it, but I found nothing wrong with it. Resident Evil 2 had a lot of problems for me. I felt like the ammunition and the health was there was way too many of that shit flying around everywhere. Like, you can just pour bullets into monsters and you'll be just fine. In Resident Evil 2, or in Resident Evil 1, and especially 3, well, 3 has a lot. You can make more. But you're mostly going to use them on Nemesis, right? So you still have to be kind of scarce with it, you know? Fingers crossed here again. Skip. Peace. Let's go. Holy fuck! What the fuck?
Kenneth was killed too. Maybe by this creature.
Like, the very second she says another vowel after that, I'll lose my fucking mind.
Anyway, let's report this to Wesker.
Thank God! Let's go.
Help me look for him, Jill. And don't leave this hall for the time being.
Yo, Jill's face is getting all kinds of fucked. Look at that. Like, what is the point of this area? There's no point in it.
If you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
How come she like Jill's
If
like
something happens,
model looks like
let's
the
meet up in
guards
this
from
hall.
Ocarina of Time?
This time I'll be there.
This time I'll be there, except I won't be because I'm gonna betray you. Whoa, spoiler alert! Oh shit! Oh, wait. It's not gonna be the same without doing this. Oh, I skipped it! I'm a fucking fraud! Press X button once, and we're good? Alright. Alright. Should we go for the classic, or should we go the smart way? Let's go the classic way, where we know shit will go wrong. I still didn't equip my pistol yet, now that I think about it. Ah! That sound! It's so nostalgic. Oh my god, the music in this game. Now you see, I often talk about this portion of the game a lot, because as much as people bitched about the camera angles in the classic Resident Evil games, they were deliberate in order to instill the shock value in what the camera angles are focusing on. Either is focusing on you or focusing away from your visuals so that you can't see the enemies but you can hear them, and that brings about fear. Or in this particular case, is focusing on how long the hallway is so that when something pops up behind you, it is like right in your face. So you'll see. So like right here, this window right in front of us is going to crack open. Did I push that the wrong way? Oh, I didn't think that's gonna crash right there. Ooh. See, exactly what I was talking about. Huh. You know, her model here doesn't look that bad, actually. I guess from far away it looks kind of bad, but it looks really smooth on this emulator. Wow. I think in Director's Cut, when you look in the mirror, a zombie pops out in front of you, or in the mirror at least. Alright, at least this way we can get the shotgun really early. Oof. This part of the game always gave me anxiety when I was a kid.
Oh, Barry!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
These zombies sound so stupid. But I love it though, it's so nostalgic.
No, but something's wrong with this house.
Whoa.
Whoa,
dangerous.
we can't make any
Maybe it's
assumptions
better
like
secure
that.
our-
Now, if I recall, in the original, we don't fight him. I think it's only in the Director's Cut, or the Arrange mode, where we fight Forrest. Maybe I shouldn't have checked on him. Ah, the nostalgic save music. Vitamins, minerals, oh, and, you know, poison serums. What everybody should need in their daily household. Bum, 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 bum. This is actually how I heard of Moonlight Sonata as a kid. Never would have heard it. Well, no, not gonna say I never would have, but I would have heard it later on through like other means, like some anime or something. But the thingy and the other thingy.
Richard! What happened?
Ouch! Is what this guy sounds like.
There are terrible demons. Ouch!
You know, considering the bite mark around his body, he should be dead by then. He should have been dead way before the poison kills him. Also, best voice acting NA. He looks like a long piece of poop. You beat them all? Yeah, same here. Although, I have a lot to say about the newer Resident Evils that I do not like. I'm a bit of a purist. Well, I think a bit is a bit of an understatement. I'm gonna say I'm a huge purist over the Resident Evil games. When I tell you that I'm a Resident Evil purist, I try not to be biased as far as how the formulas change throughout the years, but there's a lot of things that Capcom has done wrong throughout the series that I just can't ignore. Like in one of my earlier streams, one of the viewers had asked me what was my favorite zombie game, and reluctantly I did say Resident Evil, even though Resident Evil is my favorite zombie game at this point. But it's not the same way that it's not the same kind of passion I had for it back then than I do now, simply because of how much you know, Capcom has screwed up over the years, and how, like, you know, the game will never be the same again. I think it's at the point of almost no return. And it's not even just that, like I can look over not sticking to the survival horror if they kind of made a competent storyline, but they fucked that up too. There it is, the last one. That's my bigger issue, is that they kept fucking up the story. 4 and 5, yeah, 4 and 5. I mean, well, it's not even plot holes. Like, the bigger issue, in my opinion, is that the substantial plot points they have in the game that entices a player. For example, who is Ada working for? What's Wesker planning? I mean, at this point, I'm talking about pre-Resident Evil 5. So this is all after Umbrella Chronicles and Resident Evil 4. What happened to Sherry? Is Steve Burnside coming back to life? Who is Oswald E. Spencer? And Umbrella's over, yeah, so, you know, and Wesker killed Umbrella, basically. What is going to happen from here on? You go into Resident Evil 5, and Wesker dies. Oswald E. Spencer shows up, he dies. Wesker, for some reason, adopts his ideals, which is kind of stupid. Okay, fine. But then you go into Resident Evil 6, and like, Resident Evil 6, I hate Resident Evil 6 because it did absolutely nothing to advance the story, and it did so little to answer any questions. The only question they answered was what happened to Sherry, and even that was like kind of like glanced over. It was like, oh yeah, Sherry's here. Oh, Wesker abducted her. What? The Wesker reports? Nah, forget all about that. She's here and she's safe. Like, the Wesker reports made it so that it kind of implied that Wesker had her under his supervision, or under his not custody, I want to say, but like he has her held captive at some point, right? They're just like, oh no, forget all about that. She's here, and that's that. And then even beyond that, there was nothing that advanced the plot. There was no answers to any other questions. It was just a game that was like a standalone, and that was it. And that is my biggest gripe with Resident Evil 6, and more importantly, Resident Evil as a whole, because they just kept fucking up the story. They're not really doing anything. Yeah, honestly, I feel like that's a huge glaring issue as like a plot hole, because in Zero, she knows that Umbrella did it. She knows about zombies. She knows how to fight them. So why is she such a damsel in Resident Evil 1? You know? It's mind-boggling. I understand that that's just a development aspect, because they made the game before... They made 1 before 0 and all that. But it's like, you gotta keep that in mind when you develop a story. You can't just... Oh my god, there's so many herbs here, dude. But that's the thing, though. If you're making a game before the first game, then you have to make sure that the storyline you're writing makes sense. Because otherwise, why not just reboot it? Because they're doing that now with the remakes of 2 and 3, and I do not like those remakes. I'm not gonna lie. I can't say that I don't like them. There's just something about it that I don't like. Like, the gameplay is fine. Like, okay, 3 is a huge flub. I think as far as the 2 remake is definitely the better one, and I'm not gonna say that I don't like it that much, but there's just something about it that I don't like. Every turn, every corridor, every hallway is so claustrophobic that you're prone to get hit from a zombie no matter what. And this is just from my playthrough experience, by the way. I'm not saying this as a matter of fact. I've only really played through it once, and that's just my glancing opinion about the game. And it's really not much. I feel like I need to play the game more to get like a serious opinion about it, but that was just my first impression. Like, 3 was so short. It was just a huge letdown for what people expected out of Resident Evil 3. You'd think with 3 being such a classic that they would make sure that they didn't fuck it up, but they did. Yeah, honestly, it was definitely a letdown. Considering that you're paying $60 for it and then it's just a piece of shit, it made me not buy the game. I just seen my friends play it, and it was honestly like just not good. They streamlined the city. I don't want to call it city crawling, but the city exploration process. There was no puzzles. You fought Nemesis a few times. They got rid of the choice options. I'm a little disappointed about that too, because honestly, as much as I was not anticipating the game, Resident Evil 3, I was a little, I would say, oh, this guy. I was a little excited to see Nemesis in 3D, but or in the remake. But the first thing that let me down was Nemesis's face. Like, why does it look like that? It's so strange. Why does he have a nose? Oh yeah, for real, for real. If there's like any definition of a cash grab, it's that game, because it came out so quickly. And the sad thing about it is that, you know, even the original 3 came out so quickly, and it's still great. I don't want to say there's no excuse, because obviously there's a lot more planning that has to be done when it comes to like a 3D game. Oh, what is that? Which overall boss of the series is your favorite? Honestly, I'm actually gonna need to think about that, actually. I'm gonna need to think about that. Let me think about it, because like my go-to is like Nemesis, Tyrant, or Mr. X, just because they're so cool looking. Mr. X was ominous, but Nemesis was like overall completely terrifying to me. And the T-type Tyrant, I forgot what they call him, T001 Tyrant or T003, whichever the Tyrant was that had the heart out in the original Resident Evil. He's just, you know, a classic. But I really liked Mr. X's final form in OG Resident Evil 2 and Birkin. Oh, how can I forget Birkin? Honestly, I think if we're talking about forms here, I honestly feel that William Birkin's Tyrant forms, the G Tyrants, are fucking like insanely like crazy good. The Birkin Tyrant forms are amazing, and I think there's like no other like Tyrant in the game that is as interesting as he is. What are your theories on the new virus in Resident Evil 8? Honestly, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I don't know. And honestly, like I'm kind of like, I don't want to say that I'm done making theories about Resident Evil. It's just that my care for the series has fell so flat that I can't muster up the desire to do so. The last time I did it, actually, and this might be a spoiler for you because you are playing Revelations unless you know it, before the game came out, the directors of Revelations 2 gave a huge hint that the villain of Revelations 2 is somebody that only like hardcore fans of the series would know, right? So when you think about who is a character that only hardcore fans would know that could possibly even make it to that part of, or be still like relevant to the storyline, you'd have to think of something crazy, right? I actually made a video before Revelations 2 came out about my theory over who the villain is, and that video got like 60,000 views. And I'm not gonna spoil it, but unless you already know, let me know and I'll tell you who I thought it was. But for the most part, let's just say that the person that I thought it was so crazy, and it made sense if you think about it. Like, it took some actual like lore dig up just to get that shit like theorized, you know? And then I got fucked. Capcom just fucked me right in the ass. There's no reason why Alex Wesker, somebody who was mentioned only once throughout a file in the Resident Evil 5 DLC, should ever be considered as, oh, you need to be a hardcore Resident Evil fan to know that person. You don't have to be. If you are going to tell people that they should be a hardcore fan to know this, then you should be using all of the classic predecessors. 1, 2, 3, 0, Code Veronica, all that. Like, all that should be used, but no, they didn't. They just fucked us over. And that was the big reason why I didn't like Revelations 2, was because Capcom just fucked me over on that. It was like a huge disappointment. However, I will give it up for Revelations that At least as far as plot, as far as the story goes, Revelation seems like it's going somewhere. It seems like it knows where it wants to go. They're definitely leading towards something more grandiose than what, you know, 5, 6, and 7 are giving us. Everyone is saying it's most likely that the connections from 7 are the antagonists in this game. But I don't care about that. Like, at this point, the only way for Capcom to grab my attention again is if they bring something relevant to the story and make it a major plot point. I'm talking about, like, bringing Steve Burnside back, bringing Wesker back, having Ada's company be a major plot point to the story again, and her being, like, a huge antagonist or something. I don't know, man. Like, there's very little that Capcom can do that'll make me invested into the series again. Yeah, like, it's just kind of like a big fuck you to, like, everybody who's ever played the game, you know? Like, hey, you invested the time to, you know, play the classics and invest in the lore and, you know, read up on all the things as a fan, but instead of trying to stipulate off of it, we're just gonna reboot it because we know we fucked up so much that we can no longer go back to the way, to, you know, to salvage our fuck-ups. I don't think I've ever fought this guy with a pistol before. And we did it with the pistol, alright.
Perhaps you guys have met them? It was all I could do to protect myself against those strange creatures.
That I know nothing about.
Our first priority is to get out of here.
But my first priority is killing you.
Now, there are a lot of rooms in that mansion that we can't get into because they're locked up. I have been looking around for clues.
Not that we can't, like, kick them down with our brute force or anything, but, you know, we gotta keep things civil around here.